Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wa salatu salam ala Rasulullah. We continue reading from Imam Al-Ghazali's Kitab Sharh Ajaib al-Qalb, The Marvels of the Heart. This is book 21 of Ihya Ulumuddin, the revival of the religious sciences, the Islamic sciences, translated by Walter James Skelly. We have read chapter 7, this is page 45. An exposition of the condition of the heart as related to the categories of knowledge, intellectual, religious, worldly, and otherworldly. بيان حال القلب بإضافة الأقسام العلوم العقلية والدينية والدنيوية والأخروية. Imam Al-Ghazali rahimahullah said, know that the heart is innately prepared to apprehend the real nature of ideas, as has been stated previously. But the kinds of knowledge that exist in it may be divided into those which pertain to the intellect and those which pertain to divine law. And let's read basically the next division and just go back to the first, as this is what Imam Ghazali does here. Intellectual knowledge, العلوم العقلية, while it is singular in English, it's plural in Arabic, is subdivided into axiomatic, ضرورية, and acquired, مكتسبة. And the acquired knowledge is further divided into that which deals with this present world and with the world to come. By intellectual knowledge, we mean that by which the innate intellect makes its judgments, by which it does not come into existence through blind imitation and instruction. It is divided into axiomatic and acquired knowledge, of course. No one knows whence or how the axiomatic is attained. Such is a man's knowledge, for example, that one person cannot be in two places, and that one thing cannot be both created and eternal, existent and non-existent at the same time. For man finds this knowledge to be natural endowment of his soul from his youth, and does not know when or whence he attained it. I mean that he does not know any proximate cause for it. Otherwise, it would not be hidden from him that it is God who has created him and guided him aright. Acquired knowledge is that which is gained by learning and deduction. So you are born with innate knowledge. This could be included in يولد المولود على الفطرة. That in the state of natural disposition of that natural state, you do have certain innate knowledge. It is given. Inasmuch as we have natural instincts, such as an infant knows how to suckle at her mother's breast for milk. Otherwise, the baby would die if we were to move to the next one, which is acquired. This knowledge cannot be acquired because it's really very essential for survival. So it is given. But of course, if it's not innate, then it is acquired. And it's not really that we have known this in a different previous existence, and we forget at the moment of birth, then we remember this previous knowledge from previous life, if you will. Something that has been attributed to Socrates and Plato's dialogues. Acquired knowledge is that which is gained by learning and deduction. Both of these are sometimes called intellectual. Ali bin Abi Talib, of course, radiallahu anh, said, I beheld the intellect as though it were twofold, innately endowed and developed through instruction. That which is developed through instruction is of no avail, apart from the innate endowment, even as the sun is of no avail apart from a seeing eye. In the translator, in a footnote, he tried to render this Arabic. We have 3 verses in Arabic that have been attributed to Ali ibn Abi Talib, and he attempted to render them into English in verse. So he said in the footnote, this quotation is in poetic form and might be reproduced approximately as follows. Man's mind, a twofold intellect appears, the one instinctive, the other what he hears. That which is heard avails not save when joined to that which is instinctive in the mind. Just as the sun which shines in the sky is of no worth without a seeing eye. And these 3 verses in Arabic are رأيت العقل عقلين مطبوع ومسموع ولا ينفع مسموع إذا لم يكن مطبوع كما لا تنفع الشمس وضوء العين ممنوع. Then this is followed by, Imam Ghazali follows this by a hadith which is not really, it has, it's not ضعيف really, according to Imam al-Iraqi. Even it seems that if Tirmidhi renders a hadith as Hasan, it is, it must have some problem, ma'lul. So the hadith, which is not a hadith per se, one might say, God certainly has not created anything more honorable to him, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, than the intellect. The second is referred to in his statement to Ali radiallahu anhu. So Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, then men drew near to God by different kinds of good deeds. You draw near by your intellect. So they draw near, taqarrub, this is ibadah, okay? Because how would you draw near to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So if people do withdraw near with that which is in their instinct, not that by the necessary knowledge, rather with the acquired. This is again also has a weak chain of narrators. How could you basically draw near with your intellect? Of course, there is room for that. This is not to cancel the intellect. With the intention, when you exert effort, intellectual effort, that is still effort. We say exert effort, and that's exactly what jihad is. And it's in different domains. There could be a jihad in economics. There could be jihad in social work. There could be an academic jihad. And to this, Imam Ghazali mentioned an author that this is in the book of knowledge at the beginning of Ihya Ulumuddin, that he who thinks that seeking knowledge is not a form of jihad, he has something lacking in his brain, in his intellect. So ultimately, it could be the intellectual work, really, because what does a student or a teacher do? For it is not possible to draw near by innate constitutional endowment, nor by axiomatic knowledge, but by that which is acquired. In Ali's case, radiallahu anh, he was able to draw near by using his intellect to acquire the knowledge for which close proximity to the Lord of the worlds is bestowed. The heart is like the eye, and the innate intelligence in it is like the potentiality of sight in the eye. The potentiality of sight is a subtlety, or a subtlety, which is lost in blindness, but which is present in sight. Even though a man may have closed his eyes, or the darkness of night, or the darkness of night may have enfolded him. The knowledge attained thereby in the heart is like the potentiality of perception of sight in the eye, and is vision of the essences of things. The fact that knowledge is held back from the eye of the intellect during youth until the age of discretion and maturity is like the holding back of the vision from the sight until the time when the sun shines with its flood of light upon the objects of sight. The pen with which God has written knowledge upon the pages of the heart is like the disk of the sun. Knowledge is not achieved within the heart of the youth before the age of discretion only because the tablet of his heart is not yet prepared to receive the engraving of knowledge. The pen, al-qalam, is a term for one of the creations of God, the Exalted, which he has made a cause by which knowledge is inscribed upon the hearts of men. God the Exalted said, who taught by the pen, taught man that which he knew not. الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم. The pen of God exalted does not resemble the pen of his creatures, even as his description does not resemble the characterization of his creation. Thus his pen is not made from a reed, nor from a piece of wood, even as he himself subhanahu wa ta'ala is not made up of substance, nor of accident. لا جوهر ولا عرض. ليس من جوهر ولا عرض. But one should pay attention that it is still a creature in the sense it is created. So the comparison between the inner insight and the outer vision is valid from these points of view, save that there is no comparison between them in honor. For the inner insight is the very soul itself, which is the subtlety that perceives. This is like the rider, and the body like his mount. And blindness in the rider is more dangerous to the rider than blindness in his mount. Indeed, there is no relation between the one affliction and the other, nor any comparison of the inner insight with the outer version. Here, Imam Al-Ghazali mentions the verse ما كذب الفؤاد ما رأى. The heart lied not about what it saw. thus calling the perception of the mind a vision, ru'ya. Like this is the statement of the exalted. So here we have another verse. Thus did we show Abraham the realm of the heavens and the earth. وكذلك نري إبراهيم ملكوت السماوات والأرض. This is not about that which is apparent. Imam Ghazali says, in this, he, subhanahu wa ta'ala, did not mean the outer vision of the eye, for that was not granted exclusively to Abraham, Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam. That should be set forth as having been a special favor. Therefore, the non-perception is called blindness. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, for it is not eyes which are blind, but blinded are the hearts which are within the breasts. فإنها لا تعمى الأبصار ولكن تعمى القلوب التي في الصدور. And then again, and this is for it is not eyes which are blind, but blinded are the hearts which are within the breasts. Oh. And then again, and whoever in this life is blind will be blind in the hereafter, and more astray in way. And obviously this is a reference to blindness of the heart, not of the eye. This is the exposition of intellectual knowledge. There is an Imam in Jericho. He's an elderly Imam, and he's blind. And he begins every single Friday sermon by referencing the notion of blindness. Because he who is blind in this life will be blind in the hereafter. Does it mean that he himself will be blind in the hereafter? No, this is about blindness of the heart. But he begins by he would refer to the verses. قال رب لما حشرتني أعمى وقد كنت بصيرا قال كذلك أتتك آياتنا فنسيتها وكذلك اليوم تنسى. So obviously, when people ask why on the day of judgment, why they have been resurrected and gathered on the day of judgment, blinded literally, where they have been enjoying their sight, not insight in this world. And then the answer would come that they have been, they received the verses, the signs, they received the revelation reached them, but they chose to remain within the realm of that metaphorical blindness, the blindness of insight, rejection of the truth. This is the exposition of intellectual knowledge. Imam Ghazali continues now, as regards the religious sciences, they are taken by way of acceptance on authority, taqlid, from the prophets, the Anbiya, on whom be the peace and blessings of God. And we say prophets, people sometimes nowadays they say this is prophetic and this is a prophet. No, we talk about those prophets and only in the way Abraham was a prophet, only in the way Moses was a prophet, only in the way Jesus was a prophet. only the way that Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon them all, was a prophet receiving revelation from God. This is acquired by learning the Book of God, the Exalted, and the Sunnah of the Messenger of God, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and understanding their meaning after having heard them. And this is the heart made perfect in quality, and safe from illness and disease. For the intellectual sciences, although needed by the heart, are not sufficient for its safety, just as the intellect is not sufficient to make continuous the causes of physical health, but needs also to gain the experiential knowledge of the properties of medicines and herbs by learning them from the doctors and physicians, أطباء, and not by reading in books, since the intellect alone cannot find this knowledge. But after it is heard, it cannot be understood except by means of the intellect. Thus, the intellect cannot dispense with instruction, literally hearing, nor can instruction dispense with the intellect. The notion of that you cannot get it from the books is, the same thing, whether in medicine or in the religious sciences. You do need a guide, a scholar, in the true sense, that of course you can trust. And if you cannot get it from the books, you might not get it from the internet. It might be a dangerous place to get knowledge from the internet. You might like a person, you might be fascinated with one aspect or other, but the person might be misleading you. He might be an ignorant person. I was shocked to discover on archive.org a short, entry about Imam Al-Ghazali, whereby Imam Al-Ghazali is described as Halik, Kafir, Fasiq, these three attributes, that he is destined to hellfire, that's Halik, that he is a non-believer, that he is a wrongdoer, and that person who made this statement mentions Imam Al-Ghazali's use in his explanation of the mysteries of the of fasting, because he said there is Sawm al-Awam, Sawm al-Khusus, and Sawm Khusus al-Khusus, which is absolutely ignorant. It's a very dangerous place. So again, he who is a proponent of mere blind imitation and of setting aside the intellect entirely is ignorant, and he who is satisfied with the intellect alone, without the light of the Quran and the Sunnah, is deluded. Take care that you be not in either of these two groups, but the one who unites the two sources. For the intellectual sciences are like foods, and the sciences of religious law are as medicines. Sick person is harmed by food whenever he neglects the medicine. Thus, the disease of the heart can be treated only by medicines derived from the religious law, from the Sharia, which are the offices of the rites of worship and the work set by the prophets, on whom be blessings of God, for the reformation of hearts, So he who does not treat his sick heart by the use of ritual worship, but is content to use the intellectual senses alone, is harmed thereby, even as the sick man is harmed by food. The supposition of those who think that the intellectual sciences are opposed to the sciences of religious law, and that it is impossible to bring them together in harmony, in a supposition that arises from blindness in the eye of insight. We take refuge in God from it. But often, such a man finds some of the sciences of religious law contradictory to others and is unable to harmonize them. So he supposes that there is a contradiction in religion and is perplexed thereby. And he withdraws from religion as a hare is withdrawn from dough. This is proverbial in Arabic. This is only because his own impotence has caused him to imagine an inconsistency in our religion. How far that is from the truth. He is indeed like a blind man who entered the house and there stumbled over some of the vessels of the house and said, "What are these vessels doing in the path? Why are they not put in their place?" They answered him, "Those vessels are in their place, but you did not find the way because of your blindness." How strange it how strange it is of you not to blame your stumbling on your blindness, but rather to blame it upon the negligence of someone else. This is the relationship between religious and intellectual sciences. The intellectual sciences are divided into those of the present world and those of the world to come. Those of this present world are such sciences as medicine, mathematics, engineering, astronomy, and the other professions and trades. Those of the world to come are such as the knowledge of the states of the heart, of defects in religious works, and of the knowledge of God the Exalted, and His attributes and His acts, as we have explained in the Book of Knowledge. These two sciences exist in tension, by which I mean that whoever applies himself to one of them and goes deeply into it has his insight into the other lessened for the most part. Ali radiallahu anhu has given three similes of this present world and the world to come. He said, they are like the two scales of the balance, and like the east and the west, and like a man's two wives. For when he makes one content, he makes the other angry. You cannot please both. That's the meaning. So you see, those who are wise in the affairs of the present world, in medicine, mathematics, engineering, and philosophy, are ignorant in the affairs of the world to come. Similarly, those who are wise in the minute details, of course, of the sciences of the world to come are ignorant for the most part of the sciences of this present world. For the power of the intellect cannot accomplish the two things together. As a general rule, and I love basically the as a general rule because you still can. Some people are capable. Thus, one of them obstructs the perfection of the second. The Prophet ﷺ said, this, it seems that it's not really a hadith, but let's read it. Most of the inhabitants of paradise are simpletons, bull. If we talk about those who are أبله lacking a certain uh, degree of intelligence that approximates the status of those who cannot be held responsible for their action. They should not be. Let me. That could be the case. Why? But this is not a. It's not a hadith. That is, they are simpletons in the things of this present world. Hmm. Hassan, it seems Hassan al-Basri said in one of his exhortations, we perceived a group which, if you saw them, you would say that they are mad. And if they saw you, they would say that you are demons. Now, this is true. I mean, not only people from outside the realm of Islam, not everyone. There are those who are fair, there are those who are, and I'm using a different example. They look at us and they describe us with all kinds of negative attributes. All part of Islamophobia. And one could basically remember that there's in Arabic we say رمتني بدائها وانسلت, that they throw at us. It's projection. It's that which they have in their own hearts, but they project it on Muslims. Patience, that's what we need. So whenever you hear about a strange thing in the field of religion, which people wise in the sciences deny, do not let their denial delude you, so that you do not accept it. For it is impossible for one who walks the Eastern path to possess goods that exist only in the West. So also is the case with the present world, and that which is to come. The exalted Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, those who rest not their hope on their meeting with us, but are pleased and satisfied with the life of the present, and feel secure therein, and those who are heedless of our signs. I think this is, of course, a reference to إن الذين لا يرجون لقاءنا ورضوا بالحياة الدنيا واطمأنوا بها. There's another verse. They know but the outer things in the life of this world, but of the end of things they are heedless. يعلمون ظاهرا من الحياة الدنيا وهم عن آخرتهم غافلون. And again, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, so turn away from whoever. Now this is still a verse also. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, so turn away from whoever turns his back on our message and desires not except the worldly life. This is their sum of knowledge. فأعرض عمن تولى عن ذكرنا ويريد إلى حياة الدنيا ذلك مبلغهم من العلم. So to combine a complete attentive observance of the affairs of this present world and of religion is rarely easy, save to those whom God has firmly established for the direction of His servants in their livelihood and in their return to God. Such are the prophets who are helped by the Holy Spirit, Spirit of the Holy, Ruh al-Qudus, who receives divine power sufficient for all things, nor does it fall short at all But when the hearts of creatures are given over completely to that which pertains to this present world, they turn aside from the world to come and fall short of coming to perfection therein. Alhamdulillah, we have reached the end of chapter 7, inshallah. In the next session, we'll read chapter 8, an exposition of difference between general inspiration, ilham, and learning, ta'allum, and the difference between the Sufi way of seeking the unveiling of reality and the way of the speculative theologians. النظار. Until then, سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.